All right, next let's go ahead and throw a few rounds unsuppressed out of the SIG 322, and then I'll throw on a different can, and I'll finish out with the AnechoX can. And I already kind of know what the results are, but I just want to show you, and I am going to wear hearing protection for these first few shots because this is snappy. It breaks the sound barrier. It does make your ears ring. This is a loud little gun, actually. And so having a can is just a huge difference maker. It's much more pleasant, especially with my kids. But I'll just put those back to back so you can hear some of the differences between unsuppressed and suppressed and the differences between two cans. Okay, there's unsuppressed, suppressed with the old can. Okay, now let's go to the new can. One thing that's a real big deal about this new can, and one of the reasons I far prefer it already, is that when it comes to the threading and the way that the can has been done and the way that rimfire cans, half by 28s, are done, actually on some rifles I have an issue where I do have to use a shim or a crush washer, which is very taboo. It's a no-no with the other can. Like with this one, it will run out. And so I have to have a spacer in there of some sort with the other can. This one runs right up to it and it still shoots, I think, just as quiet or quieter. It's a little different tone, and it also weighs, it's got to be almost half the weight, if not better. Let's shoot a little bit of the new can. Here's the Anecho. It's also lighter, and I feel like it runs better. I have so much issue with this other can. I'm not sure what the issue is with that one. Maybe it's the flow of the design. Actually, I do think that it is what it is. I think it's the flow of the design on the other one. This one's quieter or just as quiet. I'll let people debate about that. And it works better. It runs better on pistols and rifles, and I can thread it right up, and I don't have to worry about having a shim in there or some sort of stupid spacer. I'm just so incredibly pleased with this can. It works really well. Well, it's fairly cold and windy. I do have a nice heated cabin over here next to me, but it's about 5 below Fahrenheit. So I just do little shot strings of 20 or 30 shots and then go warm up. I've got some steel at 50, 100, and I can move over to 200, but I'm using my Optic X red dot, so I'll probably stay between 50 and 110 yards. And I'm running the Anecho 22 can. This is so lightweight, and I really enjoy this can. Very, very quiet. I'll go ahead and throw a few at 50. Maybe I'll turn off my microphone so you can hear that. And I'll try a few. I'll risk a few at 100 here and see if I can make contact with that, let's see, 10-inch target down there as well. I love that sound. Yeah, that's really quiet, guys. Very, very quiet. And empty. Does not like the Norma match. I'm not sure what's going on there, or Norma tack, actually. Doesn't like the Norma tack on this gun. Not a problem of the can, but it is something with this chamber. It's just not going to be compatible most of the time. Quick shout out to my friends at Anarchy Outdoors. It's a great brand. If you're looking to upgrade your Tikka or your CZ or your Ruger, it doesn't matter if it's rimfire or centerfire, they have some of the best upgrades available. It's one of my favorite brands right now that I'm collaborating with. I do some affiliate work for them and I've produced some things, but honestly, I'd be buying that stuff one way or another because I really like their improvements and their upgrades. Very, very affordable, very effective, and they actually make a difference. Oh, that wind is bitter. Okay, I switched over to some oily ammo instead of waxy ammo. I think it's going to run a little better in this on sub-zero days. Anyways, I got about 5 minutes before my hands are completely freezing, so I'm going to run a little bit more of the SK style ammo here. We'll see what that looks like. I'll check to make sure the can is still on tight, and keep trying out this Optic X, which has been doing really well. Right now I'm on just the dot style reticle at 50 and 100. So if you can hear that over the wind, there's a 10-inch target here at 50. That one's not too hard. The 10-inch target at 110 with 22 with no magnification, it's not too bad for the consistency I'm seeing, and I am shooting good quality ammo. Now I'm going to go ahead and test out to see if the can loosened up at all, and then I'm probably going to switch around on the reticles a little bit because I want to try out some of the donut style with that AnechoX. All right, can is still cold. Of course, it's super cold. And the reticle, I'm going to adjust that by holding down the minus sign. Switch to the donut. There we go. Let's try that one out a little bit. Out of ammo. Okay, next I'm going to try some SK Biathlon. This is done pretty well in cold weather for me in a lot of guns. It's a little faster and a little louder. And with my other 22 cans that I've tried, inside of this building, because my barrel doesn't actually clear outside the building and it's still inside the building a little bit, I tend to get somewhat of a pop with these because they're just a little faster. They shoot pretty well most of the time. I'm using a red dot. I'm at 50 yards. I just need to see what kind of groups I can get with this AnechoX. I've been doing really well with it. Very pleased with the Optic so far, but I'm curious to see also how the can do with that barrel clearance, again, being inside, shooting a little faster ammo. So I'll go ahead and throw some here it's about 55 yards to the target, and I'll let you know what I think of the report and then also the reticle design against that 55-yard black target, and just what I can do with some of the variations with the Optic. One thing that's good is being able to dull it down significantly so that it's a little bit more precise. It's a little tighter of a dot. See what that sound report is like in this first shot. All right, a couple observations. Number one, I feel like the can did get progressively quieter as it filled up with gas. The first shot probably was the loudest shot. I'm going to check in a second to see what point of impact looks like in grouping, but I'm pretty sure, because I've tested this before outside, I'm pretty sure point of impact is going to be pretty much the same, maybe an inch difference at 50 yards. Not terribly different for the application that I see here. Again, I'm shooting a carbon fiber barrel, so a lot of lightweight build things going on, and resonance, all that. As far as the audio goes and how much suppression I'm getting out of this, I'm pretty happy with it. It's not perfectly hearing safe on the first shot, and that's the truth with that supersonic ammo, which makes sense. That's just how the ballistics work out. You know, it's still supersonic, it's still cracking, but it is significantly quieter. If I didn't have that on, my ears would be ringing with every shot for sure. Just the first shot was a little snappy, and it did seem to get progressively quieter. Towards the end there, it was very quiet. The fourth and fifth shot was very acceptable and comfortable inside of here. We're going to test it out with some rifles, a 16-inch and a 22-inch or 24-inch barrel in a second. I think it's a 22-inch barrel. We'll try that out in a second, and I'm almost 100% sure those are going to be even quieter and very, very much so hearing safe, even with that same ammo. One more thing, because I think people will be curious about this. My point of impact is where it's supposed to be. It wasn't even an inch difference. As far as I can tell, it wasn't different at all. I'm really happy to see that this grouped very well with the can on there. It was an inch at 50 yards, which is phenomenal for a shorty carbon fiber barrel. This is not a precision barrel. I'm shooting Biathlon Sport, which is decent ammo. I think it definitely can do better out of a full-size rifle. But throwing the can on there, I'm getting everything I would need for hunting. And I think if I throw this on my Lux gun, that was just sent out of the channel tripod, I think that's altogether an incredibly lightweight setup, very practical, very capable, and I'd be comfortable shooting squirrels 100% sure at 55 yards, maybe a bit further too, and rabbits a little further yet. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I've got my Lux Hunt, which is a lightweight tripod. It's tall enough for me, which makes me very happy. I've got targets at 100 and 220. It's actually 110 and 220 from where I'm standing right now. And I can gauge both those from the place I'm at safely, so I'm going to do that. I have my Pete's Pillars set up here with the CZ457. I have that AnechoX on the end. I have the Zero Tech. This is their newest Trace Advance 5 to 30. And anything else I need to mention? Anyways, I'm going to throw that up on here. This is my heaviest 22. If this tripod can do well with my heaviest 22, then it's doing just fine. So that's one test I need to see how it does with a little bit of vibration and just comfort behind that, as well as strength of the head itself and the latch. I'm going to transition between those 110 and 220 yard targets. So that's why I've got good glass and a good barrel on here. I want to see what sound suppression is like, point of impact change. The wind is taming out a little bit. It's mostly coming from the north. It is sub-zero right now. It's very, very cold. So the ammo is already going to be a little slower than normal. Let's go ahead and give that a try and see what the sound is actually like. I'm going to turn my microphone off so you can hear the actual raw audio. Super quiet, very stable. Can is still tight, looks good. Let's switch over to 220. Those are all hits. Switch back to 110. That's just super, 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 super cold. I need to run inside. I think I'll maybe try the Christmas tree one time before I run inside, but I'm really happy with each part playing its role here. No issues, no concerns with the tripod or the can, the optic, the gun. Everything's doing what it's supposed to. The most wacky thing when it's this cold is the ammo. That can is incredibly quiet, and I'm so pleased that my point of impact is not shifted. I don't have to change my point of aim in order to hit those targets. It's right where it would be even if I had the can off. Anytime the temperature is below zero, especially when you get into these negatives and it's 10 below, 20 below, or like right now it's about to hit 30 below with the real feel, I find that a lot of times you can just hold it. You can just wait because these bathrooms are not heated. These outhouses are very, very cold. And nobody tends to sit down for very long when it's this cold. You pretty much do your business and run out of there and get back to the stove. Oh, this sucks. Just a minute. Thank you to Pete's Pillars. They've been an awesome support of the channel. Check them out if you're looking for CZ457 parts. Actually, they do quite a bit more than that, but they also have a lot of MDT gear. They did send out some awesome stuff to the channel, such as this 22-inch, 0.96-inch CZ457 stainless barrel. It's a 1 in 16 twist, and I have my AnechoX 22 can on the end. I'm going to do a little testing where I do 5 with the can on, 5 with the can off. I'm just going to be getting a kind of a feel for accuracy downrange, as well as some of the sound suppression when I experience shooting inside this little hut. I'm going to do a lot more testing than that. 5 rounds is not sufficient for all that. It's just some initial testing, and then later on I'll probably have a lot more experience and probably a better feel for it. I'll be able to speak to it within a few hundred rounds at least. Another couple things I should mention, Pete's Pillars sent out an 8-ounce trigger for me because I just wasn't happy with the trigger I had. So this is a lighter one. It's either 8 ounce or 10 ounces, but significantly lighter than what I was running, and that's helped a lot with consistency. He sent out some of the weights. Pete's Pillars weights are phenomenal, very well executed, and they look really at home on the MDT chassis, in my opinion. And then he also sent out his 30 MOA rail, which works really well with this Zerotech. Zerotech did send this out to the channel as well. I've already got a review on this. One of my favorite optics that I've used on centerfire or rimfire. And in the wintertime, I do tend to shoot a lot of rimfire for whatever reason. And so I like shooting this optic so much that I switched it over to this. This has been my primary 22 competition build so far, and I would like to add that anechoic can at competitions. I just think it's one more neat thing, something extra, a little bit of flair. It's not necessary to do to compete. I just like it, and having it really, really quiet is fun, and it stands out a little bit. So I'll go ahead and shoot a little more of this for consistency's sake. I'm going to shoot out of the Alacritas Innovations rear micro adjustable support. This is probably the best support you can get for doing rimfire testing, and if I want to take the variability out of testing, I shoot with this instead of a rear support bag, which you'll see a lot at competitions. So now I think I've said everything. Let's go ahead and shoot some targets at 55 yards and see what it looks like and what it sounds like. We'll listen to what it sounds like too. Well, those were incredibly quiet. There is no contest with that. It's incredibly quiet. In fact, it is quieter than the previous can that I used, which was a heavier can. Usually I would think that the heavier cans would be quieter for some reason, but this is just a touch longer. It's maybe a ½ inch longer, something like that, than the other can. My group down there, it is a little windy, so I'm going to give it a pass. It's not the best group I've ever shot, but I know I'm shooting in subsonic conditions. It's about 8 to 10 mile an hour winds, and they're mostly from the north, but every once in a while, like I'm looking at a wind flag right now, and it's going a little bit to the west. So I'm going to give that a pass for a group size, but for actual audio, like the fact that it suppresses so well, I'm really happy with that. And it's not wildly off target, guys. It's probably the wind that I'm looking at here, and the group dispersion is not vertical at all. It's like basically the same line, just a little left and right. So I'm probably dealing with some windage there. Real happy with that. Now, again, I'm going to take the can off and see what that sounds like shooting with this barrel, basically about the same distance from the edge of the building. And I should have some sort of snap because it's not suppressed. Okay, that's loud. It's definitely loud. Those are supersonic, just barely. They're not properly subsonic, actually, but it's a little loud, and it was uncomfortable to my ears. So if I was to be shooting in here, which I do all the time, shoot in here, I'm definitely going to switch over to that can and shoot with a can because my group was actually better with a can on than it was off. I need to replicate that a lot of times. I have shot it quite a few times to test it out in the past, but this is the first time I've brought it to camera. And if I was just judging off of this, I mean, the group is substantially better with the 22 with the can on in this case. I probably just need to test more when it's not so windy, so give me a chance to do that. If I don't have to shoot very far, I'll actually shoot CCI quiet 22, which is like 710 feet per second. It's very slow. It's incredibly quiet on its own, but there is just no comparison. When you take away that initial slap and expansion of gases right outside the barrel that happens normally, even with this 710 feet per second, if you quiet the sound of that expansion of gases snapping in the air, right at the end of your barrel there, it's incredibly quiet with a 710. And I can hunt in places where I normally wouldn't. I just don't want to disturb people or whatever. Don't do it in the city. Don't do risky things or illegal things. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying places where you just don't want to disturb people or it's late at night. This stuff is insanely quiet. Takes a lot of drop or it takes a lot of correction at this distance. Even 55 yards, it's a lot of correction. But it's worth having around for those 25 and 50 yard shots if you just need to dispatch a raccoon or something and you want to do it quietly. This combination is shockingly quiet. Okay, for this I need to turn my mic off again so you can get a good feel for it. That's like CO2 airsoft, CO2 pellet gun quiet. Maybe quieter. The only sound is really that striker or that firing pin falling. And then you can hear the steel downrange. Let's see. That's just unmatched for sound suppression. It's really, really good. And the group is actually pretty reasonable down there on the steel. It's about a 2-inch group. Hopefully you could hear that when I just dry fired a second ago. The sound of the dry fire almost rings a little louder than the resonance of just shooting and breaking the primer on the 22. I would actually say the dry fire seems louder than just shooting when it's suppressed here. It's just incredibly quiet. If I wasn't shooting steel, you wouldn't know. All right, I've got that Wolf Match Extra again loaded up, this time in a 16-inch, 16.5-inch, I think, Pete's Pillars barrel. And thank you to Pete for sending this out to the channel. I enjoy the 16-inch. It suppresses really well with my other can, and accuracy-wise, I haven't actually done that much testing with it. I know with the can off, this barrel shoots Wolf Match Extra very, very well. I'm very happy with it, but I need to know if it can do well with the can because I will hunt with this. It's a very compact little setup, usually not with a big scope on top. Thank you to Discovery for sending out their 5-30 HD Gen 2 just for me to play around with a little bit and see what I think of it. I'll probably have some other separate videos about that, but right now I'm going to try out the 16-inch with 5 shots unsuppressed and then 5 shots suppressed, just like before. Definitely getting mirage just from the building. It's hot in here, it's cold outside. Yeah, that's very, very comfortable. Hearing safe 100%, even though the barrel is inside the building a little bit. It's a little bit recessed from that window. So normally I would be getting some crack back this way, but no, it's totally hearing safe, very comfortable. And that 16-inch barrel, I did like a short video on this initially. I'm going to tell you, this is an amazingly tight shooting barrel. I just can't get over how well this one shoots. It's between this one and the 22-inch. I can't tell which one shoots tighter. The 22-inch might be a little more comfortable for shooting PRS NRL 22 style stages, or Precision 22, just because of the balance. But this 16-inch on this lightweight gun, man, it does really well. I did a couple of things, like I used the Alacritas Innovations rear support, and I have the Alacritas thumb rest up here, which I added to the HB Industries chassis, and I do like Anarchy Outdoors. If you like Anarchy Outdoors, go check them out. Use my link below. This is the Tuxedo grip, and I really find this to be pretty awesome for competition or just target shooting like what I'm doing right now. But that looks like to be about a 1/2-inch group. Even in the wind, with the can on, it might be a touch tighter than that 1/2-inch. So I'm very happy to see that point of impact was 0 shift. 0. It's exactly where it was before. I'm so impressed, and it looks like it really likes this, short, rigid barrel. That's good to see, because this is going to be a combination I'm going to hunt with very often. This is easy for me to store away in my Everly stock backpack, take hunting, and it's extremely quiet, even with a little bit faster ammo. If I shoot that quiet, slow subsonic stuff, it's going to be even more impressive, and I think I better try some of that out just for fun. That's a really good group, actually. That's with a CCI quiet. I'm pretty impressed. Throw some on steel. Wow, those are so quiet. Here's a dry fire, just for comparison. Dry fire is louder than the ignition of the primer. All right, one more shout out to Pete's Pillars for sending out the barrel and the trigger, and then Anarchy Outdoors for the grip, Fab Defense for the stock, Discovery Optics for the bubble level, the rings, and the optic. Send my photo for the Arca rail, and then AnechoX for the Anecho 22 can here. I'm very, very pleased with it. It did really well. It's highly recommended. You're going to see it on my channel all the time because I just like to shoot suppressed. And like I said in the previously in the video, I don't have a reason not to. I only see benefits so far. As long as you're willing to break down the can and clean it, which is easy to do on this model, I think you're going to like it too. Go ahead and drop a comment down in the comment section if you have questions about it, your experience with other cans. I would like to hear about that, or maybe watch one of these videos which has been selected for you.